The starbound Voyager glided silently through the endless stretch of space. Stars sparkled like distant diamonds, and planets of all colors and sizes rotated lazily in their orbits. Captain Eli Ward sat in the command chair, staring out at the void. He had been a human all his life, but now, millions of miles from Earth, he felt both small and powerful at the same time. Humans were fragile, yes, but somehow against all odds they endured. And Eli intended to prove that once again. The crew had been assigned a new mission: explore an uncharted planetary system that appeared promising for life. The central planet, Zerth 5, was covered in forests that glowed faintly at night. The atmosphere was breathable, but just barely. Sensors indicated low levels of oxygen and gravity slightly lower than Earth's. For Eli and his crew, this was no problem. They had trained for situations far worse than this. Yet the moment they landed, disaster struck. The landing was smoother than expected, but the unexpected came in the form of a sudden seismic tremor beneath their landing platform. Eli had been walking across the surface observing the alien terrain when the ground shifted sharply. He lost his balance, falling headfirst onto a jagged rock. The pain shot through his body like lightning, but he barely made a sound. A crew member rushed to help him, her face pale. "Captain, are you okay?" she asked. "I'm fine, mostly," Eli said, brushing himself off. But he knew better. The pain was deep, sharp, and running through bones that had likely cracked in several places. The ship's medical AI scanned him immediately. Red alerts flashed. 17 separate fractures appeared across his body: ribs, arms, legs, even the sternum. Some of the breaks were old, healed, but still fragile. Others were new, severe, and shocking. The AI's calm, mechanical voice reported the findings. Critical injury detected. Multiple fractures. Human survival probability low. Eli laughed quietly. "Low, that's funny," he said. He didn't feel like laughing, but there was a strange amusement in the situation. Humans survived. Humans always did. The crew had little choice but to call for help from the planet's residents. Very few species on Zerth had spacefaring technology, but this planet's doctors were an exception. They arrived in sleek, shimmering vehicles that moved without wheels or wings. Their skin was translucent, showing veins that glowed faintly. They had no mouths or eyes like humans, but several small orifices along their heads and torsos that functioned as senses far superior to anything humans could imagine. Eli was carefully lifted onto their operating platform. The surface was smooth, cool, and emitted a soft light. The alien doctors moved around him silently, scanning him with glowing instruments. The scans revealed the 17 broken bones in vivid detail, and the aliens made soft, chattering sounds. One of the doctors extended a long, delicate limb toward him. "How? Alive?" it whispered in their soft, musical tones. Eli smiled faintly. "Oh, that," he said casually. The alien repeated the phrase in its own language, confused. Nothing about this human made sense to them. They were used to creatures who broke once and never walked again. 17 bones, each shattered or twisted in ways that should have killed him. And he was calm, even joking. The aliens exchanged nervous glances, their translucent bodies pulsing faintly with bioluminescent light. They had heard legends of humans, but seeing one in person, alive, whole in spirit, and strangely cheerful, was far beyond what they expected. The lead alien, who seemed to command the group, gestured for them to begin treatment. Tiny robotic instruments floated in the air, adjusting bones with precision beyond human capability. Eli lay still, feeling each subtle adjustment. He knew the pain would be intense, but he also trusted his own body. Humans healed. That was what they did best. As the hours passed, the alien doctors worked carefully, consulting each other with strange clicking noises. Eli spoke occasionally, making light comments about the process. "Careful with the left arm," he said. "It's stubborn." The aliens paused. They had never heard a patient advise their doctors before. In fact, most species they treated screamed or fainted. Eli simply lay there, observing, joking, and surviving. While the doctors worked, Eli's mind wandered. He thought of Earth, of the mountains he had climbed and the oceans he had crossed. He thought of every time he had fallen, broken something, and somehow risen stronger. Humans had evolved for survival. Each injury he had sustained over the years, each fall, each accident, had taught his body to endure more, to heal faster, and to adapt. This was not luck, it was human nature. The alien doctors were fascinated. Their species had long lives, advanced technology, and perfect health, but they had never faced adversity in the same way humans did. When something went wrong, they often perished. Humans, on the other hand, seemed fragile yet unbreakable. By the end of the first day, Eli had endured hours of complex treatment. The aliens had reassembled bones, realigned fractures, and stitched torn tissue. Their instruments glowed with power and precision, but nothing in their knowledge could fully explain the human body's response. Eli's pain was still present, but he could move fingers, toes, and even attempt a small stretch. One young alien, whose light pulsed faster than the others, approached Eli cautiously. "Why, not die?" it asked, its tone a mix of fear and curiosity. Eli laughed softly. "Because humans don't like giving up," he said simply. "We hurt, we break, and then we get back up. That's just how we're made." The aliens repeated the words in their own language. Over time they would understand, but not immediately. Their minds were wired for precision and caution. Humans were unpredictable, bold, and sometimes reckless, but their unpredictability carried power. Night fell on Zerth 5, casting long shadows over the glowing forests. The alien medical center dimmed its lights, leaving Eli in soft, gentle warmth. Despite the broken bones and pain, he felt calm. Humans had survived worse. They had survived the harsh deserts of Earth, freezing winters, roaring rivers, and even wars. Space was just another challenge, and he was not afraid. The alien doctors, on the other hand, could not sleep or rest. They stayed near Eli, scanning him, recording every heartbeat, every subtle muscle twitch, every pulse of energy that flowed through his body. They had never seen such resilience. They began to whisper to each other. The human, different, stronger than any of us imagined. As dawn approached, Eli finally spoke, his voice quiet but steady. "You'll understand eventually," he said. "Humans aren't perfect. We break a lot, but we always get back up. That's the point." The aliens pulsed with light, some faster, some slower, trying to process this. They had treated thousands of species. They had mastered anatomy, surgery, and healing. But this human, Eli Ward, defied all expectations. He was alive against impossible odds, calm in the face of pain, and somehow unshakably human. By the time the planet's sun rose, Eli could sit up with help. The alien doctors stared in amazement. He flexed his fingers and toes, wiggled his toes, and even gave a small, crooked smile. "See? Not so bad," he said casually. And with that, the aliens began to realize that humans were more than a species. They were miracles of endurance, capable of surviving injuries and challenges that would have ended most lives instantly. Eli's 17 broken bones were not just a medical record. They were a testament to the strength, adaptability, and spirit of humanity itself. The first part of their encounter ended with Eli still lying on the operating table, smiling faintly. The aliens were no longer just curious, they were in awe. They had a new mission now, to understand the human species, not just its body, but its heart, mind, and endless capacity to endure. And for Eli, it was just another day in the vast universe, where humans might be fragile, but they were never truly broken. The alien doctors could not stop observing Eli Ward. Every day they studied him, taking notes, running scans, and performing experiments. To them, Eli was no ordinary patient. He was a puzzle, a mystery, and a marvel all at once. His body, despite 17 broken bones, healed in ways they had never seen. His muscles, tendons, and ligaments adapted almost instantly. Even his nerves, which should have taken weeks to repair, sent signals with surprising speed. The medical center on Zerth 5 had walls that glowed softly, filled with equipment that hovered in the air and instruments that moved on their own. Some devices were so advanced they could measure a pulse without touching the skin. Others could rearrange cells at a molecular level. Yet, as advanced as the technology was, it struggled to understand the human body's natural resilience. Eli sat calmly on the examination table while the lead alien, whom the others respectfully called Xylar, hovered nearby. Xylar's translucent skin shone brighter than usual, a sign of intense focus. "Human, how?" it asked, its tone a mix of disbelief and fascination. Eli shrugged, his face relaxed. "We humans, we're tough. We fall, we break, we survive. That's it." Xylar blinked, or at least what humans interpreted as blinking. The other aliens murmured in their melodic language. No patient had ever answered so simply, yet so confidently. Usually, beings in pain either screamed, froze, or panicked. Eli did none of these. He simply adapted. The aliens decided to run controlled experiments to see the limits of human resilience. They started small. Using harmless pressure instruments, they measured bone strength, muscle response, and reflexes. Eli endured every test with calm, occasionally cracking a joke. "Careful with that one," he said, smiling. "My ribs are still tender." The aliens recorded every detail. They could not believe the results. Not only had his bones healed, beyond normal expectation, but his pain tolerance was extraordinary. Some fractures that should have left him incapacitated for weeks had already strengthened. His body was adapting faster than their most advanced technology could predict. Xylar leaned closer. "Explain this speed. Your species." "Remarkable." Eli rubbed his temple. "It's just how we're built. We're used to surviving. From the moment we're born, we face danger, accidents, and challenges. Our bodies learn to heal, to protect, to fight back. That's evolution. That's humanity." The aliens were astounded. They had long lives, their technology could prevent almost all diseases, yet they had never experienced something so raw. Survival was theoretical for them. For humans, it was instinct. They realized humans carried strength not just in body, but in spirit. Over the next few days, the aliens escalated their tests. They simulated zero-gravity falls, extreme pressure, and fluctuating temperatures. Eli endured every scenario with composure. He moved with care but never fear. Sometimes he laughed, pointing out small mistakes in the instrument settings. "Try again," he said once during a balance test. "I can handle it." One young alien whose glow pulsed rapidly leaned to Xylar. "Why? Not afraid? Not panic? We would fail." Xylar replied. "Observe patience, resilience, human species, unpredictable, extraordinary." The aliens began to see a pattern. Human resilience was not just physical, it was mental. It was emotional. Eli did not just survive because his bones healed quickly. He survived because he expected survival. Pain, injury, danger. These were familiar concepts to him. He had endured hardship his entire life. Curious, Xylar initiated another study. Tell, human, history, learn, culture, understand, strength. Eli smiled. "You want stories? Okay." He began to explain the human journey. He spoke of deserts where water was scarce, of oceans that swallowed ships, of mountains taller than clouds. He told them of wars fought not just with weapons, but with courage, ingenuity, and willpower. He spoke of cities built from nothing, inventions made from curiosity, and humans who rose again after every fall. The aliens listened, their bioluminescence pulsing in fascination. This was new information. They had studied thousands of species, but none had survived so much adversity. Humans did not just endure, they thrived in impossible situations. One of the alien doctors, whose name translated roughly to Lirkai, floated closer. Human, survive, injury, multiple times, yet, same species, continue, advance. Explain. Reason? Eli leaned back thinking. It's hope, curiosity. We want to see what's next. We want to learn, to explore, to survive. Fear doesn't stop us, it teaches us. And every time we fail, we get stronger. That's why I'm still here, and why humans, we always rise. Xylar and Lirkai exchanged long glances. Their species did not understand fear in the same way. They avoided risk, calculated every outcome, and rarely experienced failure. Humans, by contrast, invited risk. They faced danger willingly, and often turned it into triumph. The aliens decided to escalate the study further. They designed simulations that would challenge not only Eli's body, but his reflexes, strategy, and decision-making. They projected collapsing structures, simulated gravitational anomalies, and even introduced unexpected hazards. Each test would have been fatal to any other species they had studied. Eli faced them all calmly. Sometimes he winced in pain, but never for long. He adapted, he improvised. He found solutions when there were none. The aliens were amazed. They began to record not just his physical responses, but his thinking patterns, creativity, and problem-solving under stress. As the days passed, the alien team grew closer to him. They no longer just observed, they interacted. They began to ask questions about his feelings, his fears, and his motivations. Eli answered openly, explaining how humans experienced pain but learned to manage it. How humans felt fear, but turned it into caution and action. How humans failed, but failure was only a lesson, not an end. By the end of the week, the aliens had developed a new respect for humanity. Eli had not just survived 17 broken bones, he had thrived despite them. His presence had challenged their understanding of biology, medicine, and survival. Humans were fragile, yet unbreakable. Weak, yet unstoppable. Ordinary, yet extraordinary. One evening, Zyler approached Eli with a device that measured energy flows through his body. The readings were astounding. His body emitted bursts of regenerative energy at levels the aliens had never recorded. Even after 17 fractures, the human body healed itself faster than any alien technology could replicate. Explain. Energy. Process, Zylar demanded. Eli laughed softly. No special trick, we just heal. Our bodies are smart. They know what to fix first, what to protect. We survive by adapting. That's all. Zylar floated silently, trying to comprehend this simplicity. The aliens had always relied on complex tools, advanced tech, and formulas to maintain life. Humans relied on instinct, resilience, and determination. It was both terrifying and beautiful. Meanwhile, the younger aliens began to ask more personal questions. Human. Why not fear? Eli thought for a moment. Fear is natural, but it doesn't control me. Pain is natural, but it doesn't stop me. I accept it, learn from it, and move forward. That's the difference. That's why humans survive. Because we keep going, no matter what. The aliens were silent. They had not expected such a clear, simple explanation. Eli's words were not only profound, they carried a quiet confidence that left no room for doubt. By the time the second week arrived, Eli could walk short distances without assistance. His fractures were still visible, but his movements were strong and purposeful. The alien doctors watched in awe. They began to record every step, every motion, and every heartbeat. They started calling him the human miracle among themselves. Eli, for his part, remained humble. I'm just a human, he said one day, smiling at a hovering device. We fall, we break, we get up. That's it. You'll see. It's not so surprising if you know us. And so, the aliens began to see humans not as fragile creatures, but as masters of survival, capable of enduring pain, facing danger, and thriving against all odds. Eli Ward had not only healed his 17 broken bones, he had opened their minds to the incredible strength of the human spirit. The first contact had ended, but a much greater journey was just beginning. The aliens wanted to understand the full extent of human potential. They wanted to learn how a species so physically vulnerable could achieve feats so extraordinary. And Eli, as always, was ready, calm, curious, and undeniably human. The alien doctors had never seen anything like Eli Ward. Every day they marveled at his body's resilience and his mind's sharpness. Yet curiosity gnawed at them. It was not enough to see him heal. They wanted to understand how far a human could go. Could his resilience survive conditions that would destroy other species? Could his determination match the most extreme dangers they could simulate? Zylar, the lead doctor, gathered the team. We have studied, but observation is not enough. Human must endure. Extremes only then understand potential. Eli, lying on the examination platform with his fractures slowly recovering, raised an eyebrow. Extremes, huh? Sounds fun. I'm in. The aliens prepared a series of controlled experiments. Each one tested a different aspect of Eli's body, mind, and spirit. First was gravity variation. They placed him in a chamber where gravity fluctuated between twice that of Earth 5 and 0 gravity in seconds. His bones creaked, muscles strained, and balance wavered, but he adapted. Each time the gravity shifted, he found a new stance, adjusted his movements, and continued. You endure gravity. Unlike any species, Lirkai said, astonished. Eli smiled faintly. We get used to it. Every fall, every trip, every stumble teaches us something. Gravity is just another teacher. Next, the aliens tested extreme heat and cold. Eli was placed in a controlled environment, where temperatures ranged from freezing cold to scorching heat. Protective energy shields prevented death, but the discomfort was real. Eli gritted his teeth, sweat forming at his brow and muscles burning, yet he endured. He explained to the observing aliens that humans had evolved to tolerate a wide range of conditions. We've lived in deserts, mountains, oceans, and tundras. Adapting isn't new to us. The aliens noted this carefully. They had sophisticated survival technology, but their species lacked flexible adaptation. Eli, with no tools, simply survived by relying on instinct, endurance, and experience. After that, they introduced physical obstacles, walls to climb, pits to jump over, and narrow ledges to cross. Eli moved with deliberate care but never hesitation. Every muscle, every joint, and every bone seemed to work in perfect coordination. Even his recovering fractures adjusted naturally, absorbing shocks without further injury. During one particularly difficult challenge, a ledge collapsed beneath him. In most species, this would have been fatal. Eli fell, rolled, and landed on his feet. He grinned, despite the pain. That's why we practice, he said simply. The aliens were amazed. Their technology could calculate trajectories, repair fractures, and prevent injury. But humans did it naturally, with intuition and quick adaptation. They began to understand that human survival was not just physical, it was instinctive. Xyler decided to push the limits further. They designed a simulated hazard field filled with random dangers, moving walls, sudden fires, magnetic pulses, and falling debris. The field was designed to kill or severely injure most life forms within minutes. Eli stepped in calmly, analyzing every risk, planning each move. Observe strategy and improvisation, Xylar instructed the team. Eli moved with precision, leaping over hazards, ducking under obstacles, and using his strength to maneuver safely. He took calculated risks but remained careful, demonstrating not only physical resilience but mental calculation and adaptability. Every misstep became a lesson, and every recovered fall strengthened his resolve. The younger aliens whispered among themselves. Human, survive. Extreme danger, still calm? Yes, Xylar responded. Observe patience, focus, instinct. Human, remarkable. The aliens were especially fascinated by human nerves and reflexes. During one test, magnetic pulses disrupted normal movement patterns. Muscles spasmed and coordination faltered. Most species would have been incapacitated instantly. Eli, however, adjusted instinctively. He flexed muscles, shifted weight, and found new paths to move. You adjust instantly. Unusual, Lirkai observed. Eli chuckled. You could say humans are good at thinking on their feet, or falling and still landing on their feet. Beyond the physical, the aliens wanted to test mental endurance under stress. They projected terrifying simulations, collapsing cities, alien predators, and extreme environmental disasters. The images were vivid and lifelike, designed to trigger fear. Most species would panic or freeze. Eli's heart rate increased slightly, but he remained calm. Fear, guide not control, he said when asked later. We use it to decide, not to stop. That's the difference. Fear teaches us what to avoid, but it doesn't rule us. The alien doctors recorded everything. The patterns were unprecedented. Not only did humans survive extreme physical trauma, they also excelled under psychological pressure. Their minds adapted, learned, and calculated faster than any algorithm the aliens had. Eli's confidence, even after 17 broken bones, was not arrogance. It was experience. Xylar, impressed beyond words, asked Eli to explain more about human learning from pain. Eli sat quietly for a moment, thinking. Every injury, every fall, every failure teaches us. We notice patterns, we adapt, we recover. You see these fractures, he said, pointing to his still healing limbs. They're not just healed, they've made me stronger. My body learned from them. My mind learned from them. That's what humans do. The aliens absorbed this. Their species had long lives, technology, and knowledge. But humans had something unique. Experience and adaptability combined. Every challenge, every hazard, every injury became a lesson, building resilience that no device could replicate. To further test limits of strength and endurance, the aliens introduced heavier equipment, designed to push muscles and bones to near breaking points. Eli lifted, carried, and maneuvered the devices effortlessly, even with residual pain. His bones, though fractured days earlier, bore weight with surprising stability. "You lift despite injury," Lirkai whispered. "Impossible." In other species, Eli smiled faintly. Humans learn to use their bodies efficiently. Pain doesn't always mean stop. It can mean adjust, try again, get stronger. By the end of the week, the alien team was in awe. Eli had endured tests that should have killed or permanently disabled any other species. He had adapted, improvised, and survived, not just physically but mentally and emotionally. He had demonstrated strength, courage, and a remarkable capacity to learn under extreme conditions. The aliens began to rethink their understanding of survival. They had always relied on tools, calculations, and precise technology. Humans relied on nothing but instinct, determination, and experience, and it worked, better than anything the aliens had imagined. Even when Eli sat quietly on the observation platform, smiling faintly, the aliens felt something strange: respect, awe, and even a hint of fear. Not of him, but of the species he represented. Humans were fragile, yes, but they were also unstoppable when they chose to endure. One evening, Xyler approached Eli with a simple question. "Human, why endure? So much risk, injury, pain. Still continue?" Eli leaned back, his arm resting casually, still showing faint traces of recent fractures. "Because we can. Because it matters. Because life doesn't stop for pain or danger. Humans, and we adapt, we survive, and we rise again. That's our way." The alien doctors floated silently, recording his words. They had studied biology, anatomy, and resilience for centuries. But this, the human spirit, was something beyond science. It was instinct, determination, and hope, combined into a single force. By the end of their tests, Eli's 17 broken bones were no longer just injuries. They were proof of human endurance. Each bone that healed faster than expected, each pain that he endured with calm, and each challenge he overcame had shown the aliens something profound. Humans were not defined by fragility. They were defined by resilience. And as the sun rose over Zerth V's glowing forests, Eli stood, flexed his arms, and smiled. "Ready for the next challenge," he said casually. The aliens in awe realized that this was no ordinary human. This was a living testament to human potential, and they had only just begun to uncover the true limits of the species. The journey of discovery was far from over. Humans were far more than their bodies. They were spirit, ingenuity, and survival incarnate. And Eli Ward, with 17 broken bones and an unbroken spirit, was just the beginning. The alien doctors had spent weeks observing Eli Ward. They had seen him endure 17 broken bones, survive extreme hazards, and demonstrate strength beyond any species they had known. But as much as they admired his resilience, they realized there was something deeper. Humans were not just strong physically. They were complex, clever, and emotionally extraordinary. Xyler called a meeting of the medical team. "We have observed human body. We have observed human endurance. But there is more. Must study mind, spirit, history, culture." Eli, now walking steadily with minimal assistance, overheard the discussion. He tilted his head and smiled faintly. "You want to understand humans? That's a big topic. Where do I start?" "Start with survival," Xyler replied. And so Eli began. He told them stories of human history, of survival against harsh environments, and of the ingenuity humans used to thrive. He spoke of Earth's deserts, where humans learned to find water in impossible places, and its mountains where people climbed despite freezing winds. He described oceans and storms that could sweep humans away, yet they built ships, explored, and returned stronger. The aliens listened with glowing eyes wide in amazement. They had known of humans as a species in passing, but the stories revealed a depth of resilience and creativity they had never expected. Eli spoke next of human society. He told them how humans worked together, how they communicated, and how they learned from one another. He described children learning through trial and error, falling, failing, and rising again, exactly what he had done so many times in his life. Humans and we grow by experience, he said. We fail, we fall, we break, and then we get up. That is how we survive, and that is how we learn. The alien doctors were fascinated. They had long lives, perfect health, and knowledge accumulated over centuries. Yet humans with short lifespans and fragile bodies achieved incredible feats simply through adaptation, observation, and learning. They began to understand that human resilience was both physical and mental. Xylar gestured for Eli to continue. Explain. Spirit, explain. Drive human, endure. So much. Why? Eli paused. It's hope, curiosity, the desire to see what's next. Humans are never satisfied with the status quo. We explore, we challenge ourselves, and we want to know more. That drive pushes us to survive even when everything seems impossible. The aliens recorded everything. They had data on strength, endurance, and reflexes. But now they were beginning to see something intangible, something beyond the physical. Humans had determination, courage, and the ability to inspire others. To demonstrate, Eli suggested a challenge, not physical, but mental. The aliens created a simulation of a collapsing city with multiple hazards. It was designed to test planning, strategy, and improvisation. Eli stepped into the simulation, observing every detail. Unlike other species, he didn't panic. He analyzed, prioritized, and adapted. He rescued virtual citizens, avoided dangers, and navigated collapsing buildings. Every decision was precise yet flexible. The aliens noticed something extraordinary. He learned from each failure instantly, adjusting tactics in real time. Observe. Creativity, Xylar whispered. Human, solve problems instinctively. Eli finished the simulation and turned to the aliens. We don't always succeed on the first try, he said. But we try, learn, and try again. That's how we improve. That's how humans progress, the aliens understood. Humans were not only physically resilient, they were adaptable thinkers, capable of improvisation, innovation, and leadership in impossible situations. Their minds worked in ways the aliens had never imagined. Over the next few days, Eli explained human culture in more detail. He spoke of art, music, and storytelling. He described how humans expressed emotions, shared knowledge, and celebrated victories, even small ones. To the aliens, this seemed unnecessary, but Eli explained, these things strengthen us. They connect us. They give meaning. Humans survive because we have purpose, not just instinct. The alien doctors began to record emotional responses, studying facial expressions, tones of voice, and subtle gestures. They realized humans were capable of empathy, inspiration, and teamwork. These traits, combined with physical endurance, made humans a species unlike any other in the galaxy. Eli also told them about human perseverance. Even when resources are scarce, even when enemies are stronger, humans find a way. Sometimes we fail, but failure teaches us how to succeed next time. That's why I'm alive today and why our species has survived countless challenges. Xylar pulsed with light, a sign of deep thought. Human, I'd survive. Not just body, mind and spirit, combined, remarkable species, beyond expectation. The aliens had always relied on technology to solve problems. Humans relied on instinct, adaptability, and collaboration. The difference was profound. Eli's calm demeanor, optimism, and determination had taught them that survival was more than healing bones or avoiding hazards. It was a state of mind and culture. By the end of the week, the alien doctors had a new understanding of humanity. Humans were not fragile. They were strong in body, clever in mind, and unyielding in spirit. Eli had healed, endured, and survived. But he had also taught them about hope, learning, and purpose. As Eli prepared for another day of observation, Xylar approached him. Human, teach us more. Your species inspire, beyond physical. Eli smiled faintly. I'm happy to. Humans survive because we care, because we learn, and because we refuse to give up. That's what makes us, us. For the alien doctors, the lesson was clear. Humans were miracles of resilience, capable of thriving in ways that no technology could fully explain. and they were only beginning to understand the full extent of human potential. Weeks had passed since Eli's arrival on Zerth 5. The alien doctors had observed him endure 17 broken bones, survive extreme hazards, and demonstrate both physical and mental resilience. Yet now the focus had shifted. They were no longer just studying him, they were admiring him. Eli, fully healed and strong, walked among the glowing forests surrounding the medical center. The aliens followed, fascinated by his ease of movement. He demonstrated human agility, improvisation, and strength, often pausing to explain small insights about survival, adaptation, and instinct. "You see this?" he said, lifting a heavy log effortlessly. "We humans learn to use our bodies efficiently. Strength isn't just muscle, it's timing, balance, and strategy." The aliens recorded every detail. Their understanding of human physiology had grown, but now they realized humans were not just physical marvels. They were mental and emotional marvels as well. Xyler approached Eli with a question they had long wanted answered. Why endure so much? Why survive? Despite injury? Despite pain? Eli paused. Because we can. Because life doesn't stop for pain or danger. Humans fall, we break, we fail, but we rise again. That's how we survive. That's how we thrive. And that's how we grow stronger. The aliens absorbed the words. They had studied countless species, but none displayed such combination of endurance, creativity, and purpose. Humans were fragile in appearance but unstoppable in spirit. To honor this realization, the alien doctors held a gathering. Representatives from other planets, scientists, and explorers attended. Eli was introduced not just as a patient, but as a symbol of human potential. They shared stories of his resilience, his calm under extreme conditions, and his extraordinary adaptability. Eli listened quietly, smiling. He didn't seek praise. He had survived out of instinct, curiosity, and determination. Yet he felt proud that his species was being recognized across the galaxy. During the gathering, Xylar presented a device that displayed energy flows through Eli's body. The readings amazed all attendees. His regenerative energy, his adaptive responses, and his mental focus were unlike anything ever recorded. The aliens concluded that humans were not only survivors, they were trailblazers of endurance, intelligence, and resilience. Eli took the stage and spoke, his voice calm but firm. Humans survive because we refuse to give up. We fall, we fail, we face danger, but we rise again. That is who we are. That is what makes us strong. And if other species learn from us, perhaps we can all grow stronger together. The aliens pulsed with light, a sign of approval, admiration, and understanding. For them, humans were no longer fragile creatures. They were models of resilience, determination, and hope. As Eli prepared to leave Zerth 5 with the starbound Voyager, the alien doctors escorted him to the landing platform. Human, your species. Extraordinary, Xylar said. We respect, admire, learn. Eli nodded. Thanks, humans survive and we inspire. That's all we ever try to do. The ship lifted off, rising above the glowing forests. Eli gazed at the horizon, feeling the familiar sense of curiosity and adventure. He knew that humanity had made a lasting impression. Across the galaxy, beings would now see humans not as fragile creatures, but as symbols of endurance, intelligence, and courage. As the starbound Voyager disappeared into the stars, the aliens recorded one final observation. Eli's 17 broken bones had healed, but more importantly, the story of a human who survived, adapted, and inspired would live on in the galaxy forever. The human spirit, they realized, was stronger than any technology, tougher than any hazard, and brighter than any star. And for Eli, it was just another day in the universe where humans fell, humans broke, and humans rose again, unstoppable, unbroken, and endlessly resilient.